Well, welcome to the next clip in the series of restoring the old Victorian spinning rod. Okay, welcome to part 2 of constructing a fishing rod ring for a spinning rod. The type of ring we're going to create is going to look like this. And if we can zoom in a little bit so you can see. It's a bit out of focus, but you get the idea. And so, because we need a slightly larger one, in the earlier video we made this, which is constructed from 2mm brass wire, and it's in two sections which are soldered together. So what we need to do is create, in this video, the bottom plate. So what I've done is, in the first video we made a measurement. I'll just show you that. Yeah. So just here on the old Victorian fishing rod, we have just here we have thread marks and thread marks here, and the distance between those two was 83, I think, 82 or 83 millimeters. So we want our base plate, which sits on the rod itself, to be just a little bit short either way of that. So I've made this template from a cornflake packet, as you can see, and this template is, if we measure it, 7 centimeters long, and it is 1 centimeter wide, and it's got a couple of lugs on it because this is a very large ring and it needs a bit of support. So the lugs are going to have to be soldered onto this, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut some sheet brass, which is here, and we're going to use a pair of soft cut shears for doing that with. So soft cut shears are for cutting soft metals, principally silver and brass and copper, zinc, pewter, and one or two other things. They don't have hardened blades, so you can't cut things like steel with these, otherwise you'll fast find that they don't work very well. Okay, so next section, that's the end of this section. Okay, so in this section of the video, I'm essentially going to take my cardboard template and I'm going to do what we all did at school, I guess, just draw around it. So one of the things that you need to remember is when you draw around something like this, it comes out bigger than the template, so you do have to cut on the inside of the felt tip. This brass looks a little bit blue because it's covered in a sheet plastic film to protect it from scratching, and that's the reason why. Okay, so here we go. Just going to find my safety glasses. So first I've cut the piece from the sheet, and this brass is 0.5 millimeter, I believe, 0.5 millimeter thick. Sheet brass can be purchased from eBay, and there are various people who sell it, some of whom are in China. There's nothing wrong with that, just that if you order from China it will take maybe 8 weeks instead of a few days, so you just gotta watch that. Okay. Okay, so I've more or less got my my piece here, and what I'm going to do is just to check the measurements. That is very slightly longer, there's not much, and it's about the right width. So I'm just going to carefully flatten it a little bit. So the next step is to flatten it, and if it doesn't flatten well, you can what you can do is you can anneal it by heating it up with a blowtorch. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfectly flat because later on we are going to add some curvature to it. That will straighten it anyway. So. Okay. So finally, I'm just going to roll it a little bit. So we've got a nice flat piece of brass. Okay. Okay, in this next part of the video, what I'm basically going to do is just file the edges of the piece of sheet that we just cut until we get it to a stage where it's a nice shape, and I've rounded off the point because this is going to be threaded onto the fishing rod, and if the point is pointed, it's harder to get the thread over it, so it needs to be rounded off. And just even up the shape of the ends, because that's hard to do with a pair of shears. And then you peel off the blue backing, and there you got a nice smooth bit of brass now, which is almost ready for soldering. So now what we've got to do is to cut the little nubs. Cut the little nubs here and here to be soldered onto the main piece. And I think this is probably thick enough, so I'm going to use this piece of scrap brass. Incidentally, by the way, when you get scrap metal, pieces of scrap metal that come off these little bits of sprue and cuttings and what have you, you should always keep them. Keep them all together and send them off to scrap dealers or something like that eventually, and recycle them, or sell them on eBay by the poundage or whatever you want to do. If we don't start developing recycling in our society, your children won't be able to breathe, and I'm not joking. So make sure that you do. Okay. So what I'm going to do is felt tip, just like we did before, and I'm going to cut the nubs out of this scrap piece. Okay, now then, this piece is so small that it's going to be hard to use the shears with it, so I'm going to use a nibbling technique with the silver shears just to slowly get it down to the shape that I want, and then we'll file it. So we'll kind of get in there. It is actually possible to hold this in the flat pliers and cut it that way, but the brass is quite thick at 0.5 millimeter, and it's quite difficult to do. Might look a bit silly on the video. Right, so I'm now going to file it. Okay, I've got a nice little double-sided nub, which I find the... Okay, these are silversmith's flat pliers, and I'm going to use these to cut it in half, essentially. So that felt tip mark, that's a guide, just so I don't get it wrong. So cut it in half, and then we're going to use the silversmith's block just to give it a wee tap. Right, so they're now nice and flat, and I'll just quickly demonstrate that. There's your cardboard template, which I think you can see in the video. I'll pull it back a bit. There you go, see on the video. And there's the two nubs, which are going to be soldered on today, like that.